Welcome home, neighbors.
Welcome home, neighbors.
Hello, neighbors.
We're listening from
Arizona,
Florida,
Maryland, New York, New Jersey,
Minneapolis,
California, Utah,
Michigan,
Iowa, Massachusetts,
Georgia, Canada,
our home resort is
Animal Kingdom,
Polynesia,
Bay Lake Tower,
Old Key West,
Riviera,
Boardwalk,
Alani Resort,
Boulder Ridge,
Copper Creek,
Grand Floridian,
Saratoga Springs,
Beach Club,
and Wilderness Lodge.
and you're listening to
and you're listening
You're listening
to
my
DVC Points.
Welcome home, neighbors, to episode 96 of the My DVC Points Community Hall Live podcast. If you're just now joining us, every Sunday night, outside of holiday weekends, we host a live community discussion here to talk about current events, play some fun games, just celebrate our fandom in Disney and DVC. And today, what we're doing is we've got some diehard fans with us, and we're going to kind of recap, digest, and react all of the news that popped out over at D23 this weekend. Before we do that, I want to give a huge shout out of thanks to our sponsors over at World of DVC, specifically DVC Resale Market. If you're looking to buy or sell a contract, DVC Resale Market is the world's largest DVC reseller. Every single one of their staff is a former Disney Direct guide, which means you can get that same level of Disney service and expertise without having to pay the Disney price tag. They have hundreds of contracts up for sale. I've seen it go as high as 700 listings. Right now, inventory is a little tight, down into the 300s. Still a great time to buy DVC. People are buying and selling, and they're doing a great job matching them up over there all the time. DVCResaleMarket.com. I have bought probably half a dozen contracts through them and sold just as many as well throughout my 6 year history here as a DVC member. So I can tell you from buying side, they're awesome. From selling side, they're awesome. DVCResaleMarket.com. Let them know you heard about them here on the My DVC Points podcast. So let's jump into our content today. And I want to welcome our lead for this show, because he wrote all the show notes. That would be Pete Scheidley from our newscast team over at DVC Newscast. Welcome to the show, Pete.
Thanks for having me on, Chad.
Hey, thanks for coming in. Thanks for digesting all of this, because I got to spend some time in the parks today, and a huge shout out to Tim McDonald, who's one of our Patreon members, who asked me to pop over to the Tiki Bar and pick up his monstrosity over here. The little tiki thing here is we are kind of known to go out of our way to go pick up things for Patreon members from time to time. And when that came in, I heard it was going to be super, super, super hot. And I had some other people asking for it. So I just kind of went over there and picked up the monstrosity. So that's been my day. But I want to give a huge shout out to him as well. Yeah. But I've been in the parks, Pete. So I haven't been watching the streams all that heavily. I've been kind of scrolling through and thumbing through things, but I don't know that I missed much.
Yeah, I've been on all week or all weekend watching things, and today was the big parks panel presentation, and I'm not surprised at what we got, but what we got was not probably not the best presentation they've ever had on those parks panel, because there was not a lot of new stuff. But I do want to do a quick plug. As Chad said, I'm part of the DVC Newscast, which is another show on the My DVC Points podcast network. And if you are someone that's interested in this type of stuff, listen to our show. It's typically 20-30 minutes, usually drops once a week. Sometimes we skip a week if there's really no news, but we talk about whatever new news is coming out that can relate to DVC fans. So really not just DVC news, but also parks news, cruise line news. We usually cover it all.
Everything from a DVC member perspective as well.
Exactly.
And
right.
We've got another friend of mine, next door neighbor here in Orlando, and really good friend, Mr. Aaron Del Prince. We're going to welcome him into the stream as well. So welcome to the show, Aaron.
Hey, Chad. Hey, Pete. Thanks for having me on. And I kept a close ear to the ground today, listening to the parks panel, as Pete mentioned, and I share probably some of the same sentiments as both of you. I'll just use one word and just say underwhelming.
Yeah. Ooh, brutal.
Yeah.
I know Gina hadn't bought a ticket, And at the last minute, I just decided I'm not going because I could just reuse the airfare later.
Right.
And so one of my neighbors went, and I sent, a shout out to Jorge here in my local community here, a few doors down. We sent her my D23 pass on the Jorge Express. So he flew it out to her. And that was really worked out well. So we did have boots on the ground there from Gina. We spent about the last hour plus before the live show just confirming her. I'm like, Gina, really, you were there. Tell me, there was no DVC news? Nothing? And all we got out of it, and shout out to our community member, Brian, who put this photo up there. And let me come and add this into the screen. We got one photo from the Boulder Ridge refurbs.
Yeah.
Which I was like, okay, yay, it's finally coming, I guess. But this is what we get? Like red, white, and blue and orange couch? You're killing me here, guys. So
well, yeah, and the laminate floor. I mean, that's nothing surprising here. It looks like the Murphy bed coming in, which is pretty much all new studios, right?
Yeah, but then like over here on the right, we're looking at this, and what is that? Curtains that's hanging there? Like, is it the shower curtain? Are they gonna rip out the wall? Like, who knows?
Yeah, that's true, because all we got is a studio. We didn't even get like, I mean, I know they don't have any grand villas in Boulder Ridge, but 2-bedroom maybe could give us
a kitchen, give us a
no.
I guess we're getting Murphy beds, and Brian said that the herringbone photo in that orange looked a little bit better there in person than his photo represented. So I will give them that, but I'm really underwhelmed at the way that looks. And we've waited all this time, and you have one photo for us.
Yeah. And I would add that it's typical, what we've been seeing out of a lot of the refurbed rooms at Walt Disney World, whether DVC or just the general hotels. Very simple, very light on the design. There's just not a lot to them. And when you look at the rooms, you almost feel like you're not at Walt Disney World. Whereas, previous to the refurbs, there was a lot of theming in the rooms. You knew you were at Disney World. We seem to be getting away from that heavy theming in the rooms.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. So,
and I was kind of blown away. They did not talk at all about the Disneyland Tower, because that's next year. And and I understand this is D23. It's in Anaheim. It's Disneyland focused. It always has been, but that's Disneyland.
Hello, like right across the street from this convention center, you've got 11 floors up on this huge tower.
Yeah.
And we didn't get anything else about it.
Nothing at all. That kind of blew me away, that they didn't even take 30 seconds to show even stuff we've seen already, but market a little bit to, this is your crowd here that's going to be buying that.
A little bit more about the DVC lounge that's coming. Go into some detail on that.
Some concept art. Yeah. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I know Aaron used the term underwhelmed by the presentation. I was more like whelmed. It was pretty much what I was expecting. But that aspect of it, that no mention of DVC, just is crazy to me. I mean, I guess you got two. Again, you got this one coming. It should be less than a year that it's open, and
we've got Poly Tower, Poly Tower coming up.
Poly Tower, show a few more things about that too. I mean,
I rode around it today, and there's a big hole there, and it looks like there's a really old oak tree or something that they're trying to preserve, because they built up all the walls around it to keep this one tree sitting right there. And I'm like, well, that must be a very special tree, but
I got more from Chad now than we got from D23.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm gonna have to go shoot photos for everybody. So
yeah,
right.
Yeah, So Linda was saying that she's dreading the design and the colors coming to Boardwalk Villas, and what's going
Oh,
on there as
that
well.
place needs a refurb so bad, though. I mean, we stayed
Mhm.
there, I want to say like 4 years ago, and it was dreadful then, the condition of the rooms. I can't imagine being an owner there, and I think I would be very upset that it's dragged on this long.
Yeah. After Boulder Ridge, I mean, Boardwalk is the next resort in need for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but Boardwalk isn't nearly. I don't know if you've been to Boulder Ridge, but it's awful.
Yes.
It's awful.
Yep.
So
And it's been passed by. It's the little redheaded stepchild for DVC refurbs. It seems like it just keeps getting passed up. But
yeah,
and then it looks like we didn't even get any love to it in the photos. So
Mhm.
I hope they do some more market research on it, because our group kind of lit it up and went, ooh, ugly. So okay, hopefully DVC does some more research on that and gets a little more feedback before they start to commit to anything there. But we're going at scraps now. And so Pete, after DVC is kind of gone from here, and we've kind of covered that, I guess the next big thing to dive into, and this is where the majority of the meat was all Disneyland announcements.
yeah, they definitely focused heavily on Disneyland. We're gonna get to Disney World, and but that's pretty limited. Disneyland had some pretty decent stuff, and some of it was even a surprise. They started out, they had previously been announced that they're going to have Mandalorian and Grogu come out for meet and greet, and they actually brought Jon Favreau came out, and they brought Mandalorian and Grogu out on stage to see what that character is going to look like as a walk around character. They announced that's going to start in November, and of course, not getting in Florida. This is just Disneyland. They also just recently got Boba Fett as well, and I do not know why Disneyland gets these things and Florida doesn't. I think I say we because I even though
it's
I'm
our
in
home
Buffalo,
park.
New York,
Yeah.
that's my home park.
Yeah.
And then they actually had Mark Ruffalo come on from video and basically announced a Hulk meet and greet for Avengers Campus. And they brought that out. I think we have a photo of the meet and greet character, but they had I know they had previously demonstrated this costume that is basically fully articulated. Yeah, that was the image there for a second.
It's Ant-Man and the Wasp Hulk. Like,
Well, it's the Endgame. It's the Endgame Hulk. So he has a mask on. So it's Smart Hulk, I guess, right? So he's not going to be like going out there and smashing everything, fortunately. But and Gina took this picture. She was there. But it was, it was a talking, walking, articulated. The fingers were moving and everything like that. And as you can see, it's pretty big. It's probably like 10 feet tall. So that was pretty cool. Again, California, but Avengers Campus, they're going to start meeting, and they said next week that's going to be starting. So that was a surprise. They also gave a teeny tiny bit more information because Chapek had announced it on Friday that Avengers Campus was going to be getting a new ride. Now 3 years ago they announced Avengers Campus, and at the time they announced that there was going to be a Quinjet ride in addition to the Web Slingers and the Guardians of the Galaxy rides that are there. That ride was canceled due to COVID, and the good news here is they announced that there is going to be a replacement ride. It's going to take place in the multiverse, and it's going to have all sorts of Avengers, Marvel characters in the ride, and they're going to be battling what they called King Thanos, which is a multiverse version of Thanos in which Thanos won Endgame, I guess. But they didn't really give any details to this. They showed an image, and the image had people in a ride vehicle in the front, and there was like 50 different Avengers. I saw there was a couple different Spider-Man.
Yeah, that whole time travel multiverse stuff is just poor storytelling.
Yeah,
like, come on, guys.
I'm not a huge fan of it, but it is a big part of Marvel Comics. So it looks like basically they're changing the ride that was originally going to be there to another ride. Hopefully not cheaping out on it. Like I mean, not that the two rides that there are bad or anything, but like this should be your premier ride in that land. So it should be it should be better than, I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy is a nice ride, but it was just a reskin of Tower of Terror, and Web Slingers, decent ride, but again, just kind of a, another Toy
Plussed
Story
up
Mania
reskin of Toy Story Midway Mania.
Yeah.
They plussed it up a little. So
right. Yeah. So so that was a pretty big announcement. One of the big surprises was they're basically going to redo Pacific Wharf, which it's kind of the area between Cars Land and Pixar Pier.
Yeah.
And it's mostly a big food court. I think I don't think there's any attractions there really.
I will miss the bread bowls if they go away, because that was
hopefully, I mean, it could stay because it's currently themed to San Francisco. They're going to retheme it to Big Hero 6 and retheme it to San Francisco, which is the city that Big Hero 6 takes place in, kind of a hybrid of San Francisco and Tokyo. And they did say there's going to be a Baymax meetup there, but they didn't mention anything else. But that was kind of cool. Again, an actual surprise, because there was almost no surprises out of this.
Yeah.
And so,
but I mean, you're refurbing some restaurants and throwing in a character meet.
Yeah, it's not high excitement, right?
Meanwhile, here in Walt Disney World, Epic Universe is coming, and it's going to be epic.
Right.
With Nintendo, Super Nintendo World, another Harry Potter, How to Train Your Dragon. It's going to be incredible over there. And I feel like we got nothing here, but okay, we'll continue on in Disney.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Bad Chad. Bad.
No, it's okay. That's okay. Cause it's, I mean, we're going to talk about that, but a couple other things. They announced the name of the Paradise Pier Hotel is going to be officially called the Pixar Place Hotel, which, we knew that was coming, but that's, the name. They mentioned some new stuff coming to downtown Disney, and there's an Asian restaurant called Din Tai Fung. And then there's this place, which as an East Coaster, I have no idea about, but it's called Porto's Bakery. And apparently the Californians all went nuts over that there's a Porto's Bakery coming.
Yeah, Gina was just like on cloud 9.
Yeah.
And Gina's a Disneyland home resorter. She lives about 20 minutes from there, visits quite often. Yep. And she was like, this is just the bomb. This is just the greatest thing. So I will high five the Disneyland people for their new food choices, but
yep.
I believe there was a Mexican restaurant as well. Is that right? That they announced?
There might have been, yeah. They mentioned more than just those two, but I think those were the only two they actually said the names of. They said there were like 6 new things coming to downtown Disney. So, but they only really got into those two. Then they moved over to Disneyland Park, which they talked about the Toontown reopening. They're saying early 2023, which I think is earlier than most people were thinking. They had some concept art of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which they're really going to do it in a different, at least externally, and in the queue, it's going to be very different from what we see in Florida, in that the queue is going to show like the history of Mickey Mouse, and they're going to have different versions of Mickey Mouse throughout the years and things like that. So maybe a little cooler than what we got in Florida, which is basically the same thing that was there before, except without the costumes. And then, of course, Tiana's Bayou Adventure late in 2024. And then towards the end, they also mentioned that the Magic Happens parade is going to be returned, which is their daytime parade, which I think has been down since COVID. And they're also getting a new World of Color show called One. So apparently it's a Cirque du Soleil show. I don't know. that name sounds very Cirque du Soleil to me. And then a new fireworks show at Disneyland called Wondrous. So I know those were the announcements for Disneyland. I wasn't blown away by it, but there was maybe a little more there than I thought that we were going to get. And the other thing is they're really selling Tiana's. They didn't talk too much about the restaurant that supposedly they're going to convert one of the restaurants. I'm not sure which one to Tiana's. But they really were talking about the ride. I know they have a model there.
It's the same ride.
I know, and that's what to me is funny about it. It's all good. I love Princess and the Frog. I am not upset about them changing it, but it's the same ride. Why are you like hyping this up so much? You're not adding anything, guys. You're just taking an existing ride and
you're reskinning it. It's a paint job.
You're going to lose, and the theme around the re-themes the last 10-15 years, unfortunately we've been seeing a loss of audio animatronics, and they've been going to a lot of projections. What you're going to see with this Splash Mountain re-theme, I think, is a lot of the animatronics torn out, some new ones put in, but not nearly the number of animatronics that were currently in the attraction.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, they did mention animatronics, but of course they weren't anything. They mentioned 16 new characters, but are those 16 new characters all animatronics, or
are we redoing the dancing chickens? You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. Well, I think
we're throwing some Mardi Gras beads on them and calling them, a new character name. Like,
yeah, I think my guess is that they're changing out a lot of the animatronics. At least, again, reskinning them. I mean, I could imagine they might reuse some of the, the internals. But yeah, clearly it's almost a 2-year refurb, but that's,
Pete, maybe I'm being a little hard on the reskin. I know my kid, when he gets a new skin in Fortnite, is all excited. But that's all this is to me. It's like, it's not anything new functionality. There's no new ride, there's no new this, and
for how much they're hyping it, as I said, to me it's like you're just giving me the same ride with a new face, which is nice, but it's not a new ride.
I could see, as if Disneyland was your home park, getting some new nighttime spectaculars would be good, because we've had World of Color for forever. I imagine whatever they do is going to be the same genre, because they just spent millions of dollars replumbing all of that and re-putting all of the pipes back in to bring World of Color back after it was down for so many years.
Yeah.
Right.
So to me, it's just going to be different songs, different projections, essentially a reskin of the same technology. Mm-hmm. But I'm somewhat cool with that, because that's a show that should change more frequently.
So Aaron, is there anything out there that that they announced that excited you, that makes you want to travel out to California to see?
Well, there was actually one other announcement today, and it was funny because after the parks panel, I went to Hollywood Studios today and was talking with some friends, and the one thing that they really focused on was the return of the Run Disney races back to Disneyland.
Oh yeah, right. I missed that. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
That was big news for a lot of the Run Disney community, because I think
that is big news. Yeah.
The last race out there was 2017, and here we are 5 years later. Now they did say it wouldn't be back until 2024, which could be 1.5 to 2 years away from now. But still, exciting that they're going to bring it back, and because nobody really knew the future of Run Disney out at Disneyland. So great news there.
Yeah, that is some really good news, and I will celebrate with the Run Disney fans as well. Because I do know people,
and I'm sorry I missed putting that in the notes. So thanks for bringing that in, Aaron, because I forgot about that.
Yeah, I do know people that have bought Grand Cal contracts just for the Run Disney event, and time them with their use year for the events out there as well. So that's really good news that those are coming back.
Right.
But meanwhile, back here on the ranch in Walt Disney World, I guess the happiest news here is Happily Ever After comes back, and
yeah, they clearly know what the fans think of. Is it Enchantment? What's the one that's there called? Because they opened with Jordan Fisher, and I can't remember, but the two people that sing Happily Ever After, they actually opened it with the performance of Happily Ever After, and everybody on Twitter was literally like, well, they got to be bringing it back, because why would they be singing this song? And
Right.
so that was actually the first announcement, was that Happily Ever After will be back in 2023. So, but the kind of shocker that came right after that was that Harmonious is going away, and we're getting a new Epcot show also next year, which I'm not sure what that says about Harmonious. Well, I think I know what that says about Harmonious, right?
It was better than Enchantment, okay? Like,
Yeah,
but it still didn't hit what we all associate with Epcot. Like,
yeah, I think and they're not going to do this just because the super fans think the show's just kind of mediocre. They must be getting feedback from the people in the parks saying, yeah, I don't think I'd see that again, and maybe they're just not getting the crowd staying till the end to see it. And that's
Well,
the only thing I can think of that you would change it that quickly.
Well, and the thing too, Pete, is these nighttime spectaculars. There's a lot riding on them. Not just for fans staying and watching, but they sell a lot of dessert party tickets.
Right. Yeah.
There's a lot of events that revolve around the fireworks shows and spectaculars, and if they don't produce the kind of fan reaction that they should, I can easily see them making changes, because there is a financial component to it.
yeah,
For sure.
I believe Magic Kingdom fireworks was 40-50 grand a night that show cost. So if it's flopping at that rate,
Yep.
and it's not dragging people back in to spend money in the park until after that show is over, that could be a kind of a loss leader there. And
Yeah. So the new Epcot show, fireworks show, I think it's called 100 Years of Wonder, and it's going to be focused on the 100th anniversary of the Walt Disney Company, which is next year. And the overall presentation, in my opinion, sort of missed an opportunity, because with the 100th anniversary coming next year, you really didn't hear a lot about, we're bringing this back for 100 years, or we're going to be introducing this because of 100 years. It was almost an afterthought, and I really had thought going into this panel that there would be more discussion and more around the 100th anniversary of Walt Disney, the Disney Company.
yeah, Andy says hopefully the barges are leaving. Unfortunately, I think the tacos are here to stay.
I think that's, I would be very surprised if those go, and my wife's another one that hates them there during the day, hates them. So to me, I'm like, well, but I've only seen Harmonious once, and but I plan to see it again in November, and maybe for the last time. I don't know.
Yeah. I've watched it probably 4 or 5 times now, and each time I watch it, it grows on me a little bit more. So it doesn't bring me back to Illuminations, but not a bad show.
And that's the thing, is like, Enchantment's gotten trashed pretty badly on the social media. Harmonious hasn't really, so I'm kind of surprised with this change. But as you say, they must be seeing financial issues with people not booking the parties or something, the dessert parties and the after,
Well, I mean, if you're
know.
not square on to the big Stargate, you don't get
Right.
the best seat in the house. And there's really nobody there that has like a dessert party platform that's perpendicular to the Stargate. They're all off to the side someplace.
That's true. That's very true. So yeah, you're paying extra money for not seeing the whole show.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah,
so,
Adam makes this point. He goes, would anybody else have more excited if they announced a new country in Epcot, even a confirmation that they're still going to fix Spaceship Earth? Like, what happened to that from 2 years ago?
Well, I mean, look, we're going to get to talking about what they didn't talk about. But one other thing they did mention for Epcot, and, I think this was probably the moment I was most underwhelmed, because they put up a picture of the Imagination Pavilion. And I was like, oh, please tell me you're fixing this. Please. I like anything you can, you just do that. Just do that. And I'm happy. No, we're getting a Figment meet and greet.
Yeah. The air went out of the balloon real fast on that one.
Which is cool, but I was like, Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like, people love Figment. This would not be an expensive fix. Why are we not doing it? Why are we keeping this craptacular ride, pardon my French, for now 20 some years that this ride's been in this condition?
Figment sells a lot of merch, bro. Like, come on now.
He does. Make his ride good. It's imagination. And this is a hot topic for me. I'm not usually one to complain about what they put in the parks, but like, you're Disney. Imagination. This should be the premier pavilion in Epcot. Should be the Imagination Pavilion. It should not be this, kind of mediocre garbagey ride and then this dead zone that you walk out of at the end. And and Figment sells merch. He does. Like that right there isn't reason enough to fix that ride.
The popcorn bucket was proof.
Yeah, right. Yeah, people went crazy.
They could have announced more Figment popcorn buckets and gotten more excitement. Like,
hey, no, a Figment meet and greet is cool. A Figment meet and greet, that's cool.
It's cool, but
no, that's not what we needed. We needed
more popcorn buckets from Figment. So,
right.
So it doesn't get any better than that, though. Because we also got the Journey to Water and the what they're calling Communicore, so the festival area there in the center, World Celebration, I think they're calling it.
Yeah.
All I heard there was, we ain't killed it yet. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's they're definitely still opening that stuff. They're now saying late 2023.
Right. So
I don't know how it takes another year to build a stage and finish some rock work, but this is Disney. So
Disney's given us some water fountains with what is it? Tafiti in it, and Epic Universe is coming in with roller coasters and a brand new gate, and
it's very surprising that this is all they're doing. But and then we go to Magic Kingdom. They announced nothing for Animal Kingdom, nothing for Hollywood Studios, nothing for anywhere on property except Magic Kingdom. They announced the Hatbox Ghost is coming to Haunted Mansion. We're getting one new animatronic.
Yeah.
So yay! Yep. And then
projection animatronic.
With projections. Well, I think it moves too, but it's like, okay. And then Tron spring 2023, Tiana late 2024, and that is it. That's all we got for
concrete announcement, right?
We're gonna talk at the end about they did some blue sky stuff at the end that we'll keep that in the realm of Fantasyland, but this is the real stuff. Shocking to me, nothing on Fantasmic.
Nothing. Crickets.
Why are you not announcing an opening date for that at this showcase?
When you teased us with this really kind of cool cast member commercial thing on social media earlier, why aren't we getting a date? Okay.
Yeah, they must know the date. They can't share, or even if you don't want to.
Is rehearsals and recruiting going that bad that you guys can't set a date?
Right.
Or at least like Christmas, or be open for the holidays. If they don't want to give us an exact day and date, I don't get that. Play Pavilion, is it dead? We don't know. There was no mention of it. And there was one other thing I was surprised there was.
Underwhelmed.
Oh, there's been a lot of rumors that maybe Main Street Electrical Parade will come back to Florida, but no mention of that either. So
nothing about Spaceship Earth, Pete. I was thinking they might say something like, we're going to refurbish, we're going to do the refurbishment, but
and this is to Chad's comment. You have a entire new theme park from Universal with some real serious stuff going in there. As you say, you know, you got
Like-
the Nintendo World, which is going to be huge.
Who under the age of 60 hasn't grown up kicking Koopas? Okay.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
you got 3 generations of Mario fans out here now. Like, you're killing me here, Disney. Like,
yeah,
Yeah,
and with 3 parks, Universal really may finally threaten to be a week-long destination, because to me it still wasn't. I mean, I know they opened the Volcano Bay and called it 3 parks, but you know,
it's a water park.
Yeah, I mean, we spent like 4 days was our like we spent 4 days at Universal, and by the fourth day we were already like, okay, I don't really want to do anymore.
yeah.
But yeah, Caleb, we're gonna get to they made some blue sky announcements. I think we decided to save that for the end. Or are we gonna talk about that next?
No,
we're gonna do that next. Okay.
we're
One other
actually here.
thing-
So
Yeah, the one other thing we didn't get, and I was hoping we'd get like a time frame, was you know, an opening for the DVC tower at the Poly. I mean, I was really hoping they would say like, you know, 2024 or, you know, summer of 24 or something. We got nothing there.
Nope.
Zippo Zero Zilcho.
No new hotels, no downtown Disney announcement, no, like literally just those couple new shows, a meet and greet, and rides that we already know about. So it's, you know,
Yeah.
I
Well, and I know at Disney Springs, they have a new restaurant coming, and it's about to go vertical, called Summer House on the lake. It's right there where across from the new Salt and Straw ice cream parlor, and
Right
that's
next
supposed to be
Haleo. Yeah.
right. That's supposed to be a you know, a major restaurant that's going to dominate the West Side, and there was no talk about it at all.
yeah, I don't you know, again, I'm not purposely trying to be negative, but I don't know how you don't constantly have new things coming to these parks. And once Tron opens, there's, you know, and we've had a pretty good run. I mean, especially with COVID, we did have, you know, we had Star Wars, Toy Story Land, Mickey and Minnie's. We had, you know, the Ratatouille ride, the Guardians of the Galaxy, Tron. I mean, you know, yeah, okay, not super fast, but at least we're getting something every year, right? Something every year. And
Something
you know,
to look forward to, something to
right.
come back in.
Right.
Yeah,
Something in the pipeline.
and
Yeah.
now you see Tron, and then that's really it. I mean, I'm sorry, Tiana's, again, you're reskinning an existing ride. That is not. I love the music from. I'm looking forward to it. It's not reason to make me come back.
No,
You know,
and,
I mean,
and then what we did get was like this blue sky stuff of,
Yep.
we're going to do something at Dino Land. Big shock. Okay. You
Yeah.
ripped out a whole ride there. Like there's a big gaping hole in some very expensive real estate that could be making you a lot of money. So we might go Zootopia. We might go Moana.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it was really
are we
weird.
gonna abandon the animal theme here?
I mean, Aaron, what did you think of that? Because I just thought it was so strange that they were like, okay, we call it Blue Sky. Here's some concepts.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I think they left a lot of question marks, you know, on the potential project, right? And I mean, at least I have to say, because in years past, you know, we would get announcements, and then, you know, come to find later that they would be either trimmed back or canceled completely.
right.
I will give them some credit. At least this time, they're saying they're calling it Blue Sky. We might do it. We might not do it. We're not exactly sure yet. The only thing I worry about is, if they do decide to do it and proceed, it may be 2028, 2030 before we even see it.
Well, I hope not, but yeah.
I hope not either, but it just seems the track record lately with projects in the parks has been take as long as you need. Don't worry about, you know, timeline. So when they say blue sky, to me, that could mean 5 to 7 years from now. It really could, and I think that's the part that's the biggest concern. You know, you're seeing it with Epcot right now, because Epcot's been, I mean, it's 5 years in the making right now. I mean, The other thing, I'm going back to the parks, but we got nothing on the railroad at the Magic Kingdom, which that's been
Zippo.
that's been closed for 4 years now. And
Like,
I know Tron is the reason, but could you have at least given us a date when it was going to reopen? Sorry,
Yeah.
I had to say that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
back to the blue sky. I mean, again, when they say blue sky, it is years down the road before we see anything. So
yeah. And then the Beyond Big Thunder, we could do something Coco. We could go Encanto. We could go a villains area.
Yep.
right.
Or,
So
Yeah, and
and it,
that was to me even vaguer because it's like because they and then they kind of showed they showed a concept art, but it's like, okay, so you're gonna have Coco, Encanto, and villains. It's like, is this a new land then? I mean, just calling it Beyond Big Thunder is nice, but it was just it was very strange because like it was literally
how does
like,
that fit into Adventureland,
well,
Fantasyland,
it would have to be a new
Tomorrowland?
land almost, and that's that. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
thing, which I don't have
It's just
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, again, more stuff, always good, but like just throwing these concepts and against the wall, it was just a weird choice to do that publicly. And
yeah. And Adam had a really good thought here that says, I was very much hoping Dino Land was going to be replaced with Mystic Manor. Like, I don't know that Mystic Manor would have fit in Dino Land, but now that's Mystic Manor would have made people happy. Okay.
yeah,
And Frank is saying we need a few new countries in Epcot. And then Adam was saying, did y'all notice the concept art was a spinner ride? So
yeah,
they're going to give us Dumbo 8th version, right?
yeah.
the concept art for which thing? The Moana or the Zootopia one? I guess I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if the Zootopia ride doesn't replace Dinosaur, because you could take a pretty wild cart ride through there on that track. And as a matter of fact, that's what Indiana Jones is a car ride on a track with some storytelling and everything else. So I think you could really reuse that track, that ride, everything, just retell a story about Zootopia and animals, and would be a fun thing.
And
Yeah.
and Aaron's right. I mean, if this is, I mean, let's say it's on the drawing board 3 years, 4 years from now, we're talking about, I mean, best case, probably 2025, 2026, that anything like this would be open. And that's absolute best case. I mean, clearly, I shouldn't say clearly. To me, the Animal Kingdom thing must be a little bit further along because they ripped stuff out.
Right.
And I don't feel like they would have ripped that out without having in mind that
they
we're
ripped it
gonna
out,
put
Pete,
something
because they
else.
couldn't get replacement parts for it.
Well, yes, I understand that, but I'm just
And
saying,
it's a
like,
liability just sitting there.
Yeah.
Somebody could break into it, climb into it, get hurt, all of that. They're better off just ripping it out. So
I guess I tend to think if they're taking the time to actually rip it out, it means they're going to put something there.
Yeah.
Well, they put flat concrete there, and they told us they were going to put tables in there and everything else,
Picnic
but it's still
table,
pretty empty at this point.
Back to the Magic Kingdom. I think what I took from that blue sky concept, they were going to retheme or put some IP on Big Thunder Mountain. I took that away from it. The other thing I took away when they said Beyond Frontierland, I took it as Rivers of America would be developed into a villains or Encanto themed area. So it's almost like they're talking about Magic Kingdom expansion at some point. And like you said, Pete, I think that's even further than Animal Kingdom down the road. But it almost seems like they're going to just do some work with Rivers of America, and then build out that section of the park.
Yeah,
Let's just hope that Rivers of America stays. Like, that is classic Walt Disney World.
Right.
Like, you don't get more classic than that. That takes me back to my childhood. It goes back so far. Like, can we please just leave some of the classics here? We don't have to IPIs everything.
Mhm.
For the love of, all things Mickey Mouse and holy, right? Like it's just, come on.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if that's what they were doing, because if you looked at the concept art, there wasn't a river there, right? It wasn't like it was on the island. So
Right.
I'm not sure if they were really talking about Rivers of America, because if I think behind Big Thunder Mountain, I'm thinking behind, like where the railroad is.
Yeah.
And there is space there.
Mhm.
So it
And-
would be possible for them to expand the park there.
And I was talking today with a friend who lives back there and passes it every day. And he was saying that there is plenty of space back there for them to expand and grow.
Yeah.
And I think if they were to put a land back there that would connect Big Thunder back over into Fantasyland, and there was like another backwards loop in there in the park, that would be pretty awesome as well.
Yeah.
From a traffic get around standard perspective, where you go under the railroad twice, you go under to get to it and under to get back in. That would be pretty cool to me.
Right.
But
So just of note, I think partly what I took away from the parks panel today was a heavy focus on the international parks, more than the domestic parks. I don't want to say by far, but there was certainly an emphasis on Disneyland Paris, Tokyo Disneyland. They're talking about, they're putting in the Frozen themed lands in all of the international parks. Tokyo Disneyland is getting getting reworked on their Space Mountain, and some work in that area. So there were some pretty big updates and announcements for the international parks today.
Yeah, though everything that they mentioned had already been announced, so there was nothing truly new in that. But there's definitely, I mean.
And Gina makes a really good point that was the old way of thinking. Don't rip something out without a replacement. Who knows now? And
This is
AKA, the Dino Land ride.
Yeah.
Primeval Whirl.
Yeah.
So, but I just think overall, I think the word that keeps coming to mind, underwhelming, and I really do think it's an opportunity missed, because I think with the 100th anniversary of the company next year, I really believe they could have jazzed things up a little bit more and brought some more enthusiasm.
Maybe giving us a 15-second clip of that emotional throwback 100. Hey guys, this is coming.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all are going to want to see this cool celebration we're going to have here. So
I think finally we want to hit up the cruise line, because actually to me they got sort of bigger announcements than the American parks did.
From the perspective of they had their next ship confirmed, because they're not selling cruises these days. They're discounting them heavily to get people on them. So the fact that they came back in and doubled down and reconfirmed that the next ship is getting built, they had a date for it and a name and a little bit of the theming here, that it's going to be called the Disney Treasure, with some adventure type theming with Aladdin and Jasmine. Okay. I think our cruise people are super, super happy. As a parks guy and as a resorts guy, I'm not all that on the cruise line. I know, Aaron, you're a little bit. Of the three of us, I think, Aaron, you're the most cruise line guy here. So
right. Yeah, and I'm happy with the name. Originally, before even the panel today, I thought they were going to call it the Disney Adventure. That was my prediction. When I was watching the panel, I looked over at my wife and I said, I think I might have got this right. But it ended up being the Treasure. And the only thing I have to say is I think the theme is outstanding, but please bring a Trader Sam to water. Please.
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
Awesome. Legit Trader Sam's, not like they did with the Star Wars bar over there on the Wish, right?
Right. So, but no, I think there's definitely a lot of possibility with an Adventureland themed ship, like they're talking about. The Grand Hall concept art that they showed today looked very reminiscent to what we saw on the Wish, except with more of a Jasmine and Aladdin movie theme around it. which I think's very cool. But again, I hope they go very heavily themed with more adventure and pirate, which it sounds like that's what they're going to do.
Yeah,
they showed the hitchhiking ghosts at one point.
Yes, that looks pretty awesome.
And so something to do with Haunted Mansion maybe in there would be cool.
or Phantom Manor as well, because
Yeah.
and that would be awesome.
And they also mentioned Australia for the Disney Wonder, as well as what do you call them, repositioning cruises.
Mm-hmm.
So the Wonder would be traveling from Seattle, and I know our friends over at DCL Duo, they posted up the itineraries. I guess the itineraries are already out. So it'd be one cruise from Seattle to Hawaii, and then another cruise from Hawaii to
New Zealand,
to New Zealand and Australia for the repositioning, and then they'll be cruising in Australia with the Wonder. And so again, I think the Disney cruise fans pretty hot about that. And then they also
that sounded amazing. They got taken care of. Okay,
yeah. So then they also announced, re-announced their second island. and because I don't think I've mentioned this yet. I was there in 2019 for the Disney Parks panel in person, and Joe Rohde came out and announced the new island and showed concept art of the new island. And this time they announced the new island and showed concept art of the new island, and they apparently
we got no Joe Rohde. Okay,
we don't get Joe Rohde anymore, but we're still getting the island. So they showed the concept art. They showed Josh D'Amaro standing on a rock on the island and zoomed out using a drone. And it was funny. I think a lot of people on Twitter and that were like, how much did they spend to fly him out there to get this one shot of him standing on a rock? But there was clearly from the drone shot, there was nothing done yet. So I think we're several years away on that.
If you ask me.
Right. But a lot of great news for Disney Cruise Line, right? It just, once we start seeing that progress, that'll be great. And then, like you say, the new ship, I think the new ship is 2024 and the island is 2024 as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they're going to have to bring the island on when the new ship comes. There's everybody can't fit into Castaway.
Yeah.
But speaking of drones here, Frank brings up, 5 years ago, they had a great holiday drone show at Disney Springs. It was supposed to be the future of nighttime spectacular. What happened to that technology? It went over to Disneyland Paris for their 30th.
Yeah, it's in Paris right now. And they did mention that show is going to continue through next September.
Right.
So if you want to see the drone show, buy your ticket to Paris.
Which I don't know if any of you've seen drone nighttime shows. I've seen some of them, and I got to tell you, they're fantastic. And I'm really surprised. And that was a great point by the viewer. I don't understand why there's not more of that mixed in with the fireworks and the nighttime spectaculars, because it really is pretty cool when they get the mapping and all of the timing and everything worked out. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's just like really hard to consistently pull off because of the FAA laws on flights and no-fly zones, and that's why we have these helicopters coming over Disney today. From what I understand, is that drone show that they did at Disney Springs kind of opened up the floodgate, so to speak. So we're probably not seeing any more here, so that they don't get any more stuff flying over Walt Disney World. Because I know when I'm at Saratoga Springs and I just hear choppers left and right, it ruins the magic. So it really does.
Yep.
But that's pretty much summing up D23, and I'm underwhelmed.
Yep.
Wanted more, and I don't know what else to tell you.
I got what I expected, but I was expecting very little, and still disappointed because I was, as I said, I got what I expected, but I was really wanting them to at least have something coming in the distance, right? And something concrete coming in the distance, not something in Dino Land.
Yeah, going into D23, I wasn't expecting a lot like you, Pete, but the first couple days or even media day, and then on the Friday leading up to Sunday, we started hearing rumblings of Parks panel is going to be really good this year. It's going to be, you started hearing even Josh tomorrow, Bob Chapek mentioned it during the Legends panel on Friday. Make
Yeah.
sure you don't miss, the Parks panel on Sunday. And it almost sounded like there were going to be some things that they were kind of keeping under wraps, but we didn't get any of that. And I think that's where I kind of
It's
came
still
out
under
of it.
wraps, Aaron.
Right.
Still under wraps.
Yeah, right. So,
Well, and being there last time, like the big, and even there, a lot of the stuff had been pre-announced, but there were a few new things, and that Mary Poppins announcement when they brought out Dick Van Dyke,
yeah,
which of course we never got, right? We're not, and still not getting, it looks like. But like that was like, holy cow, this is awesome, and there wasn't that moment at all.
No.
In this presentation, there was no moment of, oh my gosh, this is so great, we're seeing something that's really,
there was nothing epic here.
Yeah.
And epic is going to be a key word here in Orlando going forward. Like I'm just,
yeah.
So looking ahead, right? The next D23 is in 2024. Next year, you're going to have Destination D in Orlando. 2025 Epic Universe is coming. So I would like to think that in 2024, there's going to be some major announcements being made. However, you just never know with Disney these days what they're going to do. But that may be the time to combat anything Universal's doing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're going to start on something in the next year, and they just aren't ready to say exactly what. But yeah, it's, as I said, to me, there should always be something in the works for the public viewing, for the fans to be like, oh, I can't wait till that opens, And there's, as I said, once we get past Tron, we don't have anything in Florida that's that 2024, certainly not 2024. Let's put it that way, because anything then would have to be.
So Gina, who used my ticket, is saying they didn't have anything new. The swag was good in Portos. Like, and somebody on Facebook is saying Orlando is the redheaded stepchild right now.
It is.
Yeah,
this is true.
We really are. So hopefully next year at Destination, we hear something. Okay. Hopefully. Vicky points out announcing is tricky because it risks copying. But I mean,
does it really?
Does it really? Because like Epic Universe is like got ground broke and like roller coaster tracks sitting there now. Are we really going to copy that? Like,
yeah, I mean, if you let's say they had announced a Zootopia Land replacement for Dino Land, I'm sure there's people that would be upset. Oh, Zootopia doesn't belong in Animal Kingdom. Whatever, at least it's something that we could be excited about coming down the line in 2 years. Whether and who's no one's gonna copy that. They're already building a Zootopia ride in Shanghai, I think it is, right?
Which that IP is on fire over there. It did so much better over there than over here. It just didn't resonate well with our audiences. But over there, they're gaga over it.
Yeah.
So
but whatever they announce, it's like I as I said, to me, this is a hype. D23 is a hype machine, right?
Yeah.
It's all about the hype and
show me the sizzle.
And like there was just not much to hype there.
Right.
And even the 100 years, they mention it, and then they talked about the shows at Disneyland, but like we're gonna have celebrations across all the parks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, and more food. he said more food and merchandise, and of course, you're like, oh, great.
I think Frank's comment here is what we're all kind of thinking is they're just milking the cash cow right now, trying to pay down the debt taken during COVID. and the
Wow.
damage to the brand will leave
And
us bare.
Fox. I mean,
Yeah.
let's face it. I mean, they overpaid for Fox. That was $73 billion on the balance sheet that they probably weren't expecting to pay that much, and they're going to have to recoup some of that money before
Yeah.
they really start investing back into the parks heavily.
Well,
I
do you
just-
think, Aaron, that they could have used some of that IP that they just acquired with a new ride or a new attraction to help relaunch or re-kickstart some of those IPs, like
Yeah.
Fantastic Four? Or,
You're bringing up a good point, Chad, because they really haven't capitalized on that Fox purchase yet in the parks, right? I mean, have we really seen anything in the parks that has come out of that Fox purchase?
and I
Probably
look
not,
at it and I go, okay, Fantastic Four, that's over at Islands of Adventure.
right?
Yeah,
We
yeah, you
got we got Homer Simpson now. Oh, wait a minute. Springfield's already over in Universal Orlando.
Yeah.
Okay. How great a decision was that, Bob? Like, and that's an Iger call. So
Yeah, most
Yeah.
of that Fox acquisition really is focused on Disney Plus right now, but nothing in the theme parks.
yeah. And Vicky brings up this really great point here. She goes, since D23 began, have they ever built anything that was not announced at D23 first? Like,
that was not announced at D23 first. I don't know about that. I mean, a lot of the big stuff, like Star Wars Land was announced there. You know, so there has been big things that have been
go back to like
that
2014-ish
revealed.
when they would have like
Yeah.
been announcing, you know, Flight of Passage and Avatar.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back if there were things that were that have been announced not at D23, and I can't think of too many, at least too many big ones.
Well,
I mean,
D23 was, I mean, when was the first one? Was it like 2010? So, I mean, it's only been what? How many D23 events have there been? 6?
5, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So we really haven't seen enough of it to know what the cycle looks like. Before D23, all the big announcements were always in October, right? Right after their fiscal year started. They would always come out with these big announcements, you know, in that month, basically saying, okay, it's a new year. You know, here are the projects that we have planned for the parks.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that we could get something new announced before D23 in 2024, but I wouldn't expect. I would be surprised if I would be surprised if we got like something as big as a new land. I mean, you know, again, they did sort of announce, you know, replacement for Dino Land, so they could still do that between now and the next one and say, yeah, we announced it at D23. So yeah, I'm not sure but that's a good question. That's a good point from Vicky. Like, usually they bring the big guns, and today they didn't bring the big guns.
And I think Frank has another, you said it, we were thinking it comment here, that they were quick to add booze to the Magic Kingdom without a pre-announcement, Vicky. So
That's right.
Yeah, but I mean,
yeah.
3 years ago it was the big, a lot of the Epcot stuff was announced, and all the Avengers campuses were announced. So I mean, that was pretty big 3 years ago, and
we did get Avengers campuses.
And we did get Avengers
To their
campuses, and we
point.
got some of the, you know, I think Guardians had actually, I don't know if Guardians was announced at D23. I think we might have known it was coming already.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyways, I think we're kind of out of time for tonight, and that
Yeah.
pretty much wraps up our show. So thank you, Pete, for taking the newscast content and bringing it into our live so we could talk about it a little quicker. Aaron, thank you for joining us as well for another awesome, intelligent perspective here on the theme parks from a super fan just like us. And thank you so much for your insights and thoughts there as well. Thank you for everybody for tuning in, and a huge shout out of thanks to our sponsors over at World of DVC. So DVC Resale Market, DVC Rental Store, and Monera Financial. If you like our content, do business with them and give us a shout out as well. If you'd like to see some more support for our show, you can join us over on patreon.com. DVC points. We would love to have you join us there. And we do have some really cool perks. I've got a few posts to do because I spent like the whole day yesterday doing merch runs as well. I think I picked up some H2O for people. Sandy asked for some ears and we ended up looking at them and went, no, those are not the ears you're looking for. But so we called her on that one and said, no, you don't want these. But anyways, thank you guys for joining in. We'll be back next week with some other lively discussions and this redheaded stepchild fun game we're going to play that just keeps getting kicked down the road because of all kinds of other pertinent content. So I believe that's on the agenda for next week. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you guys all. Be sure to tune in to Pete's show over at Newscast and then the My DVC Points show as well. Just a little administrative note there. I saw a comment on it as well. We got rid of the seasons on that show because people were getting so confused by season numbers and it was really hard for them to find the latest episode just due to the way Apple Podcasts did that. And not all podcast players honored seasons. So just to make life easy, we just decided to blow it out because we kept getting so much negative feedback on seasons as well. So that show is there going. We've did 2 episodes in season 8 so far. One is going to drop this Wednesday. And then shortly after, we'll be doing our quarterly recap with Jody from DVC Resale Market. So updates on that show as well. Love to give them plugs and everything else. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. We will see you next week. And hopefully you learned something in today's show that'll help you go plan something magical for your family, or at least know what's coming from D23 and, set proper expectations. Have a great night.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.